Dave Hunter.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? My name is Dave. Good morning. If you feel like you might recognize me, it's very possible because I was in a little promo for Judson. That was me in that video. Has anybody ever seen that video? Maybe somebody was like, oh, maybe I'll look at that place. So we did this little fun story. We did this video in about 48 hours because they bought like a movie preview spot at a local movie theater, and I have a video production company, and so they said, hey, can we put together something in like 24 to 48 hours for this movie theater because we have an event coming and we need to have it for that, and we had a lot of Judson footage, so we quickly put together this thing, and now this was like literally, I think, 4 years ago that we made this, and they still use it today. So it still holds up. So that's me, Dave Hunter, Judson alum. I graduated 2002, worship arts major. When we were here, we started an improv group called Green Room Improv that actually we graduated Judson, incorporated it into a company, and we still perform at 2 resident theaters today. And fun fact, we're actually going to be performing here tomorrow night for the event in the chapel. So if you want to see our improv group, that's happening tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, and it's free. So come on in here if you want to see that. But that's a little bit about me. But today's about the Crooms. Coffee with the Crooms. So I'm going to introduce our first, please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for your president, Gene Croom. Hey. Whoa, hey. 1, 2, 3, yeah. All right. Oh, he's so hard. He's so hard. All right, you can have a seat right there. And then, lest you didn't know this, he is married to a wife. Please put your hands together for his better half, Cindy Croom! Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. Yeah, you should skip, but be careful. I don't want you to fall. You didn't jump on the stage. All right, come on in. Yeah. Have a seat. Grab a microphone. Hopefully it's on. So hello. We don't have any coffee because the coffee came late. A little insider baseball for you guys. Coffee's not here. So we're just going to do with the Crooms. We'll just take away the coffee. So I've known you for a while because I've been around for a while, but I've actually never, ever talked to you two about your relationship. Oh, careful, that's expensive. So I have a couple questions. The first is, where did you first meet?
You want to take that one?
We met at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Bowling Green is my hometown, and so I went to college in my hometown. And Gene grew up about an hour northwest of Bowling Green in a town called Owensboro, Kentucky. And we are both generational Western Kentucky hilltoppers. My family, couple generations, his family, 3 generations, his grandparents went to Western, and that is where we met. He was a year behind me, although he is 1 month older than me in age. So
I'll let you all do the math on that.
Yeah, y'all can figure that out.
So is that why you have those outrageous accents?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Kentucky. Now, so you met there, so you met in college. You were a year younger than her in school, but not in intelligence. What was your first date? What was the first date?
So the first real date was at homecoming 2 years after you graduated, 1 year after you graduated, and I had just graduated. And I was hanging out with my brother and his date. He was very uninspired to want me to hang out.
Was he older brother or younger brother?
I'm the oldest of 4.
You're
so
the
he was
oldest
number
of 4.
2.
Okay.
And so Cindy and I had been at a luncheon earlier in the day. She had on this beautiful red dress. We're at the football game. I'm hanging out with my brother, and he said, why don't you ask Cindy out tonight? I had admired and adored Cindy, throughout our undergraduate years, but she was smart enough not to date me then. And so I'm like, yeah, right, we're at a football game. There's 15,000 people here. What are the odds of us seeing her on the way out? My brother is incredibly, wonderfully obnoxious. We're leaving the stadium. Cindy's like 3 ramps down below, and he just bellows her name. And she stops. I walk up to her, And I said, hey, do you want to go do something tonight after, since the game's over?
You just generically said, do something?
Do something. I didn't have a plan. It was pretty obvious.
Hey, you want to go do something?
Do
That's what you
something.
said?
So Cindy replied, well, I had just shared with this guy, that this other dude standing over there, that I would do something with him. And then the only pickup line I've ever used in my life, the only one I've ever used, I just said, wouldn't you rather go with me? And she said, yeah, I would. Went over and told the other dude, I'm going with Gene, and that was our first date that night.
So currently what my understanding
I'm
is...
1 for 1 on pickup lines, so.
So what was the something you wound up doing in this mysterious generic date?
Do you want to tell them where we went?
We went, did we go? I don't think we went to eat there, but we went to his fraternity dance for like 30 minutes. And they were like, no.
Not fun.
We're leaving. And we ended up at this diner until midnight, just chatting and, yeah.
That's
just
cool.
Hanging out.
Do you remember what you ordered?
I do.
No. Clothes.
Clothes?
Did you say, remember what we wore?
What? No,
No,
what you ordered.
Oh, what I ordered. No. Food.
Hello, ma'am. I will have
Food,
some
clothes.
T-shirts.
It was
and-
probably burgers.
I wasn't focused on all that stuff. I was focused on her.
okay.
I think it was burgers and fries. It was a place called Murray's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So,
That's
yeah.
cool. Okay, so let's just skip to how did the proposal happen?
Well, if that story was boring, the proposal, basically, Cindy said, hey, if we're going to get married, you should probably ask me. And I said, would you like to get married? Now, I did have a strategy in mind because I really wanted her to go with me to pick out the engagement ring. I didn't want to make that kind of investment without taking her because I just don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Because, I kind of have a trajectory of that at times, of messing stuff up. And so I then asked her, however, the funny story in that, we went to pick out her engagement ring, and I try to be funny like Dave Hunter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I had a Tic Tac in my mouth. We're standing at the counter with all the rings out. We're talking. The Tic Tac pops out of my mouth, lands on the counter, bounces, and hops over. Cindy goes, what was that? I'm like, I'm going to have some fun. I'm like, oh, it's my tooth. And she's like, your tooth? And I was like, no, it's not my tooth. I was just kidding. So that's how we got engaged. If you thought the first story, and she still married me. She showed up.
Well,
Okay,
I had been waiting. I'd been out of town on business, and we talked about getting married.
Yeah, we did.
And a couple of other girls in our church, had already picked June dates, and I'm like, and it's December, gals. I mean, 6 months. So, if we're gonna get engaged, we need to set a date. You can ask me whenever you want to, but I've got to have a photographer in a church. So, yeah.
How many years did you date, or how many months did you date before she forced you to propose?
A year and a half.
About a year and a half. About a year, a little over a year.
Okay, cool. I feel like I just learned a lot about your relationship just now. How long have you been married?
31 years.
31 years.
Yeah. June 30, 1990. We married in an even number, so you can remember.
Nice. So I had in mind that we could play a game with them as a couple against another couple that's a student couple. And so
A best friend couple.
yeah. So what happened was we already have somebody chosen, so you can calm down. So what happened was I got an email this morning that's like, hey, we don't have a couple lined up, but we have some best friends. So we're going to sort of do best friends against couples. So can you please put your hands together and welcome up to the stage Sinedra and Anea.
Okay.
So come on over here. Come on up here. Let's meet you real quick, Sinedra and Anea. I know you both, but I don't know that the audience. Come on over here. Come over here, Sinedra. So, yeah, right there. Hello. So this is Anea. This is Sinedra. Let me get you a microphone here, Anea. No, you're fine. You're fine. This is a... All right, so you guys are... they gave me you guys as best friends. So tell me just a little bit about your history.
Well, I moved to Illinois when I was 5, and Anea was the first person I met at church. So we've been friends for 15, 16 years now.
Wow. And then are you currently in school together, still roommates or in
Yes.
classes together?
Roommates.
We live in Volkman, so like we're in like the same room pod together, so that's fun.
Okay, sweet. Now I have the questions built for couple, so I need one of you to decide who's going to be the man for the game.
I'll be the man since I'm sitting with Dr. Kroom.
So why don't you join the man side and then you join the woman side. Can you guys, let's bring your chairs downstage so that the audience can see a little bit more. And then I'm going to give you, here's how this works. This is called the match game. And if you can each take, here, you take these two, give one to Cindy. And then here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask questions, and you're going to answer the question, and we're going to see if you can match with your best friend or husband-wife. And for every match, you get a point. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. And you win coffee later when it arrives. That's what you're going to win. So, are we ready for the first question? Now, just to reiterate, when I say man, that's you. When I say woman. Okay, here we go. All right. What is your favorite activity to do together? Write it down. Favorite activity to do. No eyes. Sinedra, knock it off. Just write down your favorite activity to do with the other person. And we're going to see if you get a match. Favorite activity. Favorite activity to do together. Yeah, and for the record, try to write to where the audience could read it, if you can. This will be like a warm-up for that. Favorite activity. That game music, that repeats itself, doesn't it? All right, here we go. So we're going to start with the Krooms. Gene Kroom, what is your favorite activity to do together, do you think?
I kind of hedge my bets. I think it's watch TV or Netflix.
Netflix? And then you put like
I put a sub answer in case I'm wrong.
Okay, watch TV
Travel,
or Netflix.
travel.
And then, what'd you write, Cindy?
I did. I said go to the beach, or if we can't go to the beach, sit on the sofa with Annabelle and watch Netflix.
Okay, now,
We got both A and B right.
Now you wrote or travel. So just to reiterate the game, you don't write 6 answers and then hopefully one of them matches.
I know.
So
I was
You
being
do when you're a
aspirational
couple
in
and
the
you've been married
first
31 years.
yeah, I understand, but like you literally wrote like, well, we could do this, we could do that, and then if that, then maybe he wrote this one. We'll
But
see.
I was right.
I'm gonna wait to give you a point to see what Sinedra and Anea say. So Sinedra, what'd you write?
I wrote Twilight Marathon.
Show the audience. Anea, what did you write?
I didn't write that.
What did you write, Anea?
I wrote people watching.
Okay, we're gonna give a point to the Krooms. A point to the Krooms, with a warning to just write one answer from now on.
Got it. Yes, sir.
We'll try.
All right. Krooms 1, best friends 0. Question number 2. What is a phrase that the woman says when she is annoyed with the man? Remember, you're the woman.
When she's annoyed?
When she's annoyed with you, the man. What is a phrase they say the woman says when she is annoyed with the man? All right. We're going to go with Sinedra first. Sinedra, what did you write?
Girl.
Girl. If you wrote people watching, so help me. Anea, what did you write on your board?
Bro.
All right, those are definitely 2 different things. Cindy, what is something that you say when you're annoyed with the man?
Did you hear me? Not were you listening, but did you hear
me?
what I said?
Did you hear me?
Subtle
You
difference
need to
there.
propose!
I'm sorry, what was her answer?
Her answer was, oh my gosh. Gene,
See?
what did you write? She does an eye twitch thing. That's the phrase she says when
It's
she's
a head
annoyed.
roll, eye twitch thing like, I cannot believe.
Yeah. Gene, that's
You-
not a phrase.
It's not a phrase.
I feel like I gotta reiterate
It's a feeling.
the rules of this game. All right, so we're gonna go no points on that one. But Anea and Senator, that was closer. That was closer. Bruh, girl. Okay, number 3. If the man were choosing what food to eat for dinner, what would he choose? If the man were choosing food to eat for dinner, what would he choose? Did you answer all right? Yeah, okay. Dr. Kroom, I would love to see a food on the answer on this one, just to reiterate the rule there. All right. Let's start over here. Cindy, what did you write down that he would like for dinner?
Well, I had several answers, but I was afraid to use more than one. I put steak.
Steak.
Followed closely by
Steak! There we go, there we go. Anea, what would Sinedra like to eat for dinner?
I said Chipotle
Show us.
or Mexican.
Chipotle, and then you put Mexican, and then what did you write?
If money were no object, I would put Chipotle, but McDonald's was my option. Because
Ah.
I have no money.
Bruh.
Or Thai food. I like
Or
at the very
Thai.
bottom. She
We
put
like Thai
see?
together.
You have Thai as the
Yeah,
second
she has both.
option?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She likes Thai
I'll
food
just-
at McDonald's.
Just a
Together.
reminder, there's no second
But
answers.
the fact that we both like Thai.
All right, 0 for you. Number 3. Nope, number 4. What does the woman like to do to relax? What does the woman like to do to relax? What does a woman like to do? She gets to choose. Don't think about money. Sinedra, what did you write? What does Anea like to do to relax?
TikTok?
TikTok? Anea is not happy about that answer. She wrote,
Take naps.
take naps. Hey, some of the letters match. Jean, what does she like to do to relax?
I put be with family, and I gave a shout out to our son G3 and his wife Micah.
So you gave examples of family
I
members.
did, specific examples.
All right. And what did you write?
That is very true. But I went with my first answer, go to the beach
Go
or
to
watch
the-
Netflix.
Yes.
Go to the beach or watch movie. A repeated answer from before. So that's no matches there. But we still are 2-0. We still are 2-0. So I'm starting to think that maybe you're not best friends. Let's see what happens here,
We'll
bro.
go to couples therapy. It's fine.
All right, here we go. If you as a couple or best friends were gifted a $500 Visa gift card, what would you, as a couple, buy with it? What would you buy with it? $500 Visa gift card. You're buying something together. What would you buy? You could play at home. What would you buy with $500? What would you buy? Maybe we could get her a Chipotle gift card. All right. Anea, what would you, as a couple, buy with $500 Visa gift card?
I said food.
Food. Real big letters. Are you hungry right now?
I like food.
You like food? Okay. Sinedra, what did you write?
I said something for the dorm, but I felt that wasn't specific enough, so decor.
Okay. That's wrong.
I have enough of that already.
Jean Kroom, what did you write?
I put a trip to the beach.
A
since
trip
it's
to the
come up
beach.
twice already.
What did you write?
I put travel with family to
Oh,
the beach.
you swapped answers. Are we going to give them a point for that? Do you want to give them a point for that? All right. 3-0. 3-0. We have one more question.
Triple or nothing.
And we're going to make this worth triple. So that means you can tie it or you can get killed. Are you ready?
We might die.
Who is more likely to get in trouble with the law? Who is more likely to get in trouble with the law? That was some fast answers. All right. Here we go. Sinedra.
I love you, but Anea, 100%.
Anea, totally. And Anea, you wrote?
A nail.
Anea! Cindy, what did you write? Gene?
Not for
Gee-
the reasons you might think, but
And he wrote himself, which means the Crooms win the match game! Let's give a round of applause to Sinedra and Anea. You guys can have a seat. Well done. Well done. Yeah, let's do a little stage management. Can we bring the chairs back to where they were? And then can we play some transition music so the audience doesn't recognize the transition happening? All righty. Let's have a seat. Let's talk some more. Let's talk some more. Another round of applause for Anea and Sinedra. They have a lot to talk about. All right. So let's transition into some presidential questions, shall we?
We shall.
You're the president.
Most days.
Yeah. Except for when Cindy's in the room. No, I'm just kidding. Why? I've always personally wondered this, and I've never been able to ask you, so I'm excited to ask you this in front of hundreds of people. How long ago did you come here?
We're in our ninth year.
Ninth year.
Mhm.
Why did you take this job at this university?
Because I had been in a search for a college presidency and was looking at serving in that role. My dad was a school principal, mom was a teacher, grandparents were in education, so it's the family business growing up. And God opened the door here. And interestingly enough, the two schools that it came down to, the one school, I finished Mr. Congeniality, which meant they really liked me, but they hired another person. But their mascot was the Eagles. And I thought for sure I was going to get that job because I went for a run after my interview when I got back to Indiana. And I saw an eagle flying over the lake. And I'm like, I got this job. And didn't get the job. And then I got a phone call from the search consultant at Judson saying, because he had known me 10 years before in a presidential search. And he said, I think you need to apply for the job at Judson. I went on the website, looked it up, Judson Eagles. And I just felt that's going to be the job. And God worked it out that way. Now, there's lots of reasons why here at Judson, such as the architecture program, the World Leaders Forum, the 90-acre campus. There was just a different energy when we came to interview of this community, like I shared in the opening convocation. It's just different, and it feels different than any place I've ever been in an amazing way.
especially the people. From you students to faculty and staff and other people. So it's a people.
Did you have a similar feeling? Like, were you like back and forth between the two options, or were you like strongly towards one or the other, and for what reason?
No, we felt like this was where God was calling us to be from the first time. I knew Gene had that feeling, but then when I came to visit, I felt the same way. So.
Now, he obviously does presidential things, but you also have some work that you do here at Judson as well as the First Lady. Can you tell the audience and myself, what is it that you do here?
Well, I have the privilege of doing a lot of fun things, mainly surrounding our hospitality of the university, from university-wide events like the World Leaders Forum and Founders Day to organizing, hosting different student groups from Res Life at our home and other groups that come in our home. So I have the privilege of working with groups and on campus, off campus, building relationships. I meet regularly with the Friends of Judson, and I'm active in that group, the auxiliary group that supports you students with scholarships and Hugs from Home and other things like that. I served, when the RISE program started, I was an adjunct professor, and I taught for a year and a half with the RISE program and loved that very much. I get a chance to travel. One of the projects that I am doing with Friends of Judson right now involves the Heritage Room. How many of you all have been in the Heritage Room in the basement of the chapel? Just a few. So we're going to be opening that up more and making that more accessible to students, especially on special days. I've been thinking that we need to continue to tell the story of Adoniram Judson, our namesake, and the story of Anne and Sarah and Emily, his 3 wives over the years in and out of his service to Burma. And so the Heritage Room documents that. It was a part of this chapel when it was built. It was a stipulation by the Herrick family. So, but it was dedicated in 1976, I think, and we've done very little to that. So you're going to be hearing more about working on the Heritage Room and the AJ Project and keeping the story of Adoniram Judson, one of the first Protestant missionaries to Asia.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That's super cool. Gene, what is it that you're trying to do here while you're president?
Well, the most important thing is honor what God wants to do with Judson University more than anything else. Like I mentioned in my convocation remarks, this world and this life is too consumed by false visions of what success looks like, and success is driven by more money, more influence, more fame. And what we do at Judson, when we talk about shaping lives, it truly is about putting more God into people's lives. Even if people don't have a faith life and they're not even sure about the whole faith thing, kind of like what the Alpha part is, what Chris is showing in that program, that's totally cool because God will speak to you. What we do is want to create the environment where you all as students absolutely feel that the faculty, staff, the alumni, that you've got people walking alongside of you, helping shape your life as you all shape our lives as well too. And it's not just true for you all, it's true for our adult students. So whether you're a single mom who's finishing her degree and lives in Rockford, and our campus there is in the Y over there, and let's say she brings her kid for the free daycare at the Y while she takes her classes, it's to shape her life. It's for the adult student in Lindner Tower that you all may see that's from there from 6 to 10 at night, several nights a week because he's trying to finish his degree. So it's the whole spectrum of the students that we're privileged and called to serve. It's to make this environment really special and rich for them, and then let God define what success is. And I think God's doing that incredibly well just by looking at this incoming class that we have, the students that we have returning, and how we do what we do. So my job is to make all that move forward and give everybody a voice in the process.
Cindy, I'm going to ask you a question about Gene. And the question is, what is the hardest part of the job for him? As the wife, you have a unique seat to see him president here. What's the hardest part of the job for him?
Well, couple of things. One of which I'd say rest. He's a little bit of a workaholic sometimes. A balance between rest and work. But when you're doing what you love, he will tell me, it doesn't feel like work. He feels very called to be here at Judson, to interact in lots of different ways on campus, and to meet you all and know you. And I didn't say that about myself, so I'm going to interject myself in here just again, real quick. One of the things I love is meeting with students too. So if you ever want to get coffee, tea, I'll meet you. You know, we can. I love building relationships. I love going on the mission trip to Belize for that reason. I go with Gene when I can. I've missed a few, but. I love building relationships with students, and he loves building relationships all across campus. So just that work-rest balance, I think, and sometimes maybe not like feeling the weight of the world. Like, I think when you are in leadership, sometimes we feel like we're responsible for everything. And he's done a great job over the last 9 years of realizing God is responsible for everything. And when we commit what we do and our work and our work offering, in a way, to him and pray in line with his will, everything comes the way that he ordains it, and that's always the best way.
I'd like to ask you the same question about Cindy. What is the hardest part of her role, viewing from the husband position?
I think the hardest part about her role is when you serve in the First Lady role, there's not a job description And so there's no definition. And so a lot of folks don't understand the depth and breadth of all the behind the scenes things that she does. So for example, like with the RISE program, in addition to having taught in the classes, she does an etiquette dinner for them every year too, which is one of our funnest events to go to, is the RISE etiquette dinner. And so she works to coordinate that part of it. Last year with the Roser Scholars that are in here, we went on the DASH retreat, so Cindy will be a part of that again this year. And so there's countless things behind the scenes that most people don't see or realize that takes place because of the work and the role that she has. So she's on stage as much as I'm on stage, even though if I'm up here delivering a chapel program, folks are still looking at what she's doing as she's doing it in her role.
That's great. I have another question to close out the chapel, but I actually would like to take a minute and see if any students would like to ask any questions from your spot in the audience. You can just raise your hand and we'll call on you. Any questions that you might have for either of them about anything? You can take a minute to think. And I'm counting on a couple, so you better not leave me hanging.
So like if you're in my class and you ask a question, you'll get 20 points extra credit.
Yeah, right over here. What's one thing you guys learned about each other during COVID?
That's a great question. One thing we learned about each other during COVID that we didn't already know? I learned I probably have a lot more annoying habits to her than I thought I did.
He talks really loud when he's on the phone. Really.
Yes, I could be animated when I'm talking on the phone.
Zoom calls. You can hear
Zoom
about
calls.
zooming all over the house.
It takes me a while to get used to Zoom because I act like everyone on the Zoom call I have to yell at. I have to talk
So they
louder
can hear
so they
you?
can hear me.
Can't
Right?
hear
Yeah,
me.
it's totally illogical.
Other questions? Yeah, right here, gentlemen.
What has been your biggest fight?
What's been your biggest fight?
Oh, God.
Well, we're both the oldest. And so the struggle that when two oldest children marry, neither one of us is wrong. And so when we have extended dialogue on important issues, we both
Debate.
still sort of feel like we were right, even if at times we concede for the greater good of this discussion. Or we're just tired and we want to go to bed.
Another one.
Is that about-
Yeah,
is that about
right
right?
over here. The best trip they ever had? What's the best trip you ever had?
Best trip we ever had. Well, since I answered the beach so often, and we did that this summer, so I'll tell about where we went on our honeymoon. 31 years ago, we went to Cumberland Island, Georgia. It's an undeveloped island, the southernmost land of Georgia. You go to Fernandina Beach, Florida, and take a ferry over to there. And we went and stayed a week. And it's no phones, no TVs, it's very remote, but a fabulous inn there, a wonderful food, the beach, bikes, lots of nature, quiet, moss in the trees. It's a very peaceful place. We hadn't been back in 30 years, and we went back last year on our anniversary, 30th anniversary, and then we went back again this year on our to
that's
celebrate.
cool.
So,
Another fun trip is when we went with the choir to Europe. That was a
Yes,
blast. That was a
absolutely.
great time.
yeah.
Is it okay if I go over here? Because we've done a lot of people from this side. I'm sorry. I'll come back to you, sir. I promise. Right here. Yes. Microphone's coming at you.
Dr. Krum, what's your shoe size?
Shoe size.
What's your shoe
You
size?
just doing that for extra point credit? Is that what you're doing that for?
20 points to that man for that amazing
9.
question.
I'm a 9.
9. All right, back to him.
Not
For-
Enneagram, but shoe size.
Okay, so what did you realize in the first month of your marriage?
Did you say, what did you realize?
Something you learned maybe at first month?
I married above my status in life was the first thing I realized.
Just yeah, thank you. That's very sweet. But yeah, managing. We were both working full time at the time and very busy, and managing expectations when we're going to be home. Those kinds of things. Who's going to do what are important things to iron out in the first few months of marriage. And
Like she manages all the money because I had my way of managing money. And let's just say as a single guy, it was a fairly loose structure. Cindy had a more organized structure. And I think we realized early on in our marriage she was much better at organizing that than I was.
Over here.
What's like the key roles to having a successful relationship?
Did you say key rules? Like rule? Key rules.
Roles.
Roles. Okay, roles. Key roles.
As Christ followers, I'd say to have God at the center of everything, to see each other with His grace. I'm not saying I always do that. My first inclination sometimes, because we're human, but to see things with a different lens, to make a decision every day to be together, to love each other, to work to move forward in God's will for you all as a family.
You want to answer that, or you want to move on? All right, moving on. Over here.
Hello. Who wears the theoretical pants in the relationship?
I should probably give G3 a microphone.
Yeah,
and
let's
let
like
him
Jerry
answer that.
Springer up in here.
Let G3. Actually, that's one of the blessings I think of our marriage is that we're both the oldest child, and so it depends on what the needs of our family are. And so, during one season when G3 was younger and his sister, when they were younger, my work, demanded a lot of being on the road and going to do those things. So Cindy is, for a long time, I've always said she's the CEO of Croom Enterprises, and mean that very seriously. The money, the family, where we need to be, what our family dynamic looked like, and my job was to go to work and to do that part of it. Now we're in a season with G3 and Micah being married, Allie and Graham being married. We get to travel a lot more together and do the Judson work together. So now we're in a season where it's back to being more of a shared role. But when we first got married, we didn't have children for the first 5 years. We both had really demanding jobs, and we just kind of traded off. I mean, Cindy was the assistant director of a national nonprofit organization. She was also a 4-H agent. And so our first anniversary was actually spent at 4-H camp. And I was in a cabin of 12 boys, and she was in the professionals cabin that had air conditioning. But we were doing that for her job at the time. So it's tag teaming. And depending on what the family needs, that's kind of how we co-lead.
But we did prayerfully, early on in our marriage, decide to follow Gene's career, his education, getting a PhD, and that sort of thing. But that was, a lot of prayer and compromise in some ways, but direction from the Lord in following that path.
That's great. Right here.
What characteristic do you guys love the most about each other?
No, I'll go first. Gene is the eternal optimist. We're a great balance in that way. We've talked about both of us being the oldest child and wanting to be in charge of things like that, but we have different personalities as we approach those things. He is the eternal optimist, and it makes me so aggravated sometimes because I'm a realist. I'm like, what color is the sky in your world? But he stretches me in that way and challenges me and is so very hopeful and brings a lot of joy and energy.
And she's a great caretaker. So her giftedness of caring for people and genuinely caring for people is been a blessing to me and our family, and I think to our friends, Judson students, and all kinds of folks like that.
We can do one or two more. Right here.
What is one thing that you're proud of which has changed over the course of your presidency at Judson?
One thing I am proud of, of course, the presidency at Judson. I think it is honoring the cultural identity of the university throughout my tenure, from the very beginning, even through today, and watching how God has grown that. I mean, here's one of the more beautiful things about that part of it. I mean, compared to 9 years ago, we are a far more diverse campus ethnically and culturally. That is amazing. That's God's hand at work here and us surrendering to what God wants us to do. And so this community is richer for that, regardless of your background, where you're from, whether you're an international student, what your ethnic background is, whether you're a Rise student, whether you play a sport, whether you're in the DeMoss Center, we're so much more diverse, and we're so much more diverse with our faculty and staff over that time frame too. That's what I think the kingdom of heaven looks like. I think that's exactly what the kingdom of heaven looks like. And so I'm really proud that we model that.
All right, I'm going to do one final question from myself for you, and that is, what is something that you want the students to know from you, either one of, from both of you? I'd like to have an answer from both of you. Something you want students to know.
I want you to know how much I care about you. Like Jean, I'm the mama bear. I want to know every one of you by name. I want you to forgive me when I don't. I can't remember. I'd love to get to know you. So please, I hope I'm approachable. I want to be approachable. That's my prayer. So let me know how I could be praying for you, how I could be a part of your life. You can send me an email. I'm cindy.croom@judsonu.edu, or we can get together for coffee or tea, like I said. But I do care deeply about God's plan for each of us, each of you, and how coming to Judson works into that story.
And two quick stories from my perspective. I want every single student here to know how much you are loved, prayed for, and cared for by your faculty and staff, the friends at Judson, the community that surrounds you. And two really quick stories. One, Heather Funk Palacios is going to be here to speak in chapel, I believe, Chris, September 1, somewhere around there. And her background is one of trauma and suicide and her own struggles here at Judson University. And her story about being loved at Judson, as she says, when she didn't deserve it because of how she was acting out at that time, is hugely powerful. But what she attributes that to is the faculty and staff and the people here that just walked alongside of her regardless. Do we do it perfectly? We do not. Do we stub our toe? We do. But we always come back to where God needs us to be as it relates to that. My second favorite story is that we had a young woman stand up at the Athletic Hall of Fame. She played soccer here and told the story. And I still don't know even if today if she is a believer in Christ. But she told the story that trying to get through her Bible classes and her religion classes, the requirements was hard, and she wasn't getting it. And she was struggling. And she's like, I'm done. I'm finished. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she's walking in Lindner Tower, looking for someone to talk to. Professor Eric Mason's door was open. Eric Mason is one of our most amazing, intellectual, gifted faculty members, but he brings a high academic game. And so sometimes, for some of us, trying to keep up with him academically or intellectually is really hard. He's there. She turns and goes in his office and basically says, I'm done. I don't get any of this religion stuff. I'm not sure what it's about. And he patiently spent the next hour, 5 to 6 o'clock when he could be on his way home, just sharing the gospel with her. And she stayed at Judson and had a great soccer career and still is walking down this path that God has for her. But it's those individual moments of care. That's why I give out my cell phone number and say, if you need anything, you call. Heather's going to do the same thing when she's here. She says, if you have a struggle, if you need anything, call me. Call me anytime. Let me know. We'll be there for you. Every one of your faculty or staff, even though at times it may not feel like that, or even though at times you may go, what's up with that person? They care. They love you. They're praying for you. And you will not find a community that will love and care for you more than our community. Other communities may be equal to, but no one's more than what God does here through each and every one of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Crooms. Have a good day.
My past